Welcome back, everyone, to One Take Everything. Today's stories are also coming from Reddit, and they're going to be Today I Effed Up, Am I the A-Hole, and Pro Revenge. I hope you like it. Let's get started. Our first story comes from Reddit Today I Effed Up, titled Today I Effed Up by Going on Vacation with My Toddler Niece. So this happened probably 6 to 8 months ago. I went on vacation with my mother, sister, brother, and their 2 young children. We were going to a local zoo-like attraction, rented a cabin on the beach, and had planned to stay there for a few days. On day 1, we hung out at the beach, had a great time. Day 2 rolls around, and we go to the zoo-like place. Also have an amazing time, saw all kinds of amazing creatures, top-notch vacation. Then the revenge of Montezuma hits the toddler, and quickly spreads. I woke up at 5 a.m. on the 3rd day of vacation, because my mother, who's 65, had caught whatever stomach virus the kid had, and crap hit the bed. Quite literally. It was at this point, I think to myself, well, she is my mom. I'm obligated to help the lady clean up. And then I need to get the F out before I go on the stomach version speed run of 28 days later. About 30 minutes into my drive back, I feel the first warning sign. My stomach feels odd. That tiny voice from your gut that says, we're about to have a bad time. So I pull up to a McDonald's with the intent to try to use their bathroom to get out what I could before we hit serious time. And to be fair, what came out of me, well, it was foul. Like, you kind of get used to the smell of your own crap for the most part, and can stand it without gagging. That was not what was happening here. It was like a sulfurous volcano and a meth lab got into a car crash, approximately 10 minutes into creating a fair imitation of what the pits of hell must smell like. I heard the bathroom door open, and then I hear a rich southern baritone call out, "Well, that's ridiculous," and the door promptly shutting. I'll never see this man. I'll never have the faintest clue of what he looks like, but the sound of him judging me at one of the lowest points of my life, racked with stomach cramps and incubating biohazard, that, friends, will live on with me as long as I have cognitive capacity to function. Completed the drive, having to pause every 30 minutes or so to pull over and vomit. When I finally made it home, I went to continue vomiting in my bathroom. Not a huge bathroom. There's barely enough room between the commode and the bathtub to sit and vomit. And in my weakened state, I managed to get stuck there. I threw up so hard, I ended up crapping myself at the same time. I don't have afterlife stories like people that died for a few minutes, but I do now have the experience of what the actual act of dying feels like. I'm sure it feels just like that. Too weak to move, vomiting so badly you crap yourself. Thank God my girlfriend loved me enough to help me roll into the bathtub, wash me, inject Pepto-Bismol directly into me, and then roll me into the bed to finish dying. I may have survived, but part of me died that day, including whatever shred of dignity I had left. TLDR, went on vacation with children, caught stomach flu from them. Wow, OP. Honestly, this one was a hard one for me to read through. I just kept wanting to laugh, and I kept holding it in, but I don't know if you can notice in my voice, I was grinning for much of the story. Sorry you went through that, man. I've had similar situations, not because of my niece or anything. Just one day I had some mushrooms from a local Chinese fast food place, and ended up having the flu, rotavirus, and it was just not a great day for me. So I'm glad you're over it, man, and thanks again for sharing your story. For our second story, it's Am I the A-Hole? Titled, Am I the A-Hole for thinking my wife's friend should share the referral money she got for referring her to her company? My wife recently lost her job, and her friend, Hannah, referred her into her company. My wife got the job, and Hannah is set to receive a referral recruitment bonus in 3 months or so when my wife's trial period is over. The right thing to do in this case is to split the bonus with the recruited person 50-50. Sorry, OP. No, it's not. 100% not. But anyway, for the sake of the story, that's just how it is. I never heard of someone not sharing, and I always shared when I referred somebody. However, Hannah did not offer to share the money with my wife. I told my wife she should ask her, but she doesn't want to. She says that Hannah helped her get her dream job, and the monthly salary difference between this and her old job is higher than half of the bonus. So she won't ask for it. Thing is, my wife got the job because they liked her on the interview, and she had the right skills, not because of Hannah referring her. She did a favor by allowing Hannah to refer her instead of applying on her own. Without my wife, Hannah wouldn't get any money. We are going over to Hannah's and her husband's place later today to hang out, and I'm planning to ask her about the money. My wife is saying that I'm a huge a-hole for even thinking about it and looks kind of stressed about it. So I'm wondering, am I the a-hole? OP? 100%. I have never heard of anyone sharing the referral bonus 50-50. If you want to, great. Seems like you've done it and your friends have done it, and that's awesome. You guys have that, nice side of you. But that is not an expected thing. I've never heard of that until now. So honestly, yes, you're not a big a-hole, but you are the a-hole. For our third story, it's coming from Pro Revenge, titled Stiff Me on Overtime. Cue the long, expensive revenge. This happened in the early 2000s when I joined a startup. We agreed on a salary, no pay overtime, and an evaluation in 3 months. Afterwards, it would be annually. Standard stuff mostly. It was very mediocre salary for the work, but I really liked the work itself, which is extremely interesting and challenging. For me, even if the finances were so-so, I felt I'd learn a lot of skills, which would be useful in the future. After 3 years, and having 10 decent clients and a bunch of clients trialing and money rolling in, the talk turned back to back pay and paid overtime, plus compensation for past overtime. At that point, around $50,000 in overtime had been accrued, which for me was a lot. Legally, it couldn't be back pay, so the talk was always of a discretionary bonus. Now at this point, everyone is okay with this, myself included. And this was discussed in writing, via emails, and verbally, so I felt secure that no bad will was in play. I felt the company should be able to afford that payment. Equally, I'd happily settle for equity at a discount, which is legally possible there, if cash flow was an issue. The discussions about back pay, possibly equity, had now started to drag on, and I was getting irked by this. In the end, I was made an offer of equity, which meant that the company valuation was far beyond anything reasonable. In the hundreds of millions, and I'd get a minuscule stake, less than 0.01% of a company with 9 employees and a projected annual turnover of around $2 million. It was a pretty blatant FU of sorts to stiff me out of money, and I didn't want to take that lying down. To say I was furious was an understatement. Anyway, the day he made that offer, I handed in my resignation. This sent the CTO into panic mode because the CEO had refused an updated contract and I was still on a month-to-month notice period. I had a lot of untaken paid leave. Basically, it meant I was walking out right then and there. So off I went that very same day, to the shock and surprise of everyone, I guess. Don't know why. The next day I sent an official registered letter requesting my overtime, back pay, and received a negative response, which I followed up with another detailed demand. This was also rejected because the bonus was discretionary and there is no overtime. Seems like they knew what they were doing. However, I'd been seeking legal advice and I understood that they don't have a leg to stand on if I'm willing to pay for an attorney, as a liability in such matters is firmly and 100% on the employer. I was willing. You need to understand that going to a lawyer was very rare in those parts back then, so companies didn't generally expect this outcome. Things have changed, of course. When going through the applicable laws with the attorney, I noticed there is a limitation of 7 years. So while my attorney was laying out what to do in order to get me my money in as little as a few weeks, I just asked him, what if we wait until it's 6 years and 11 months after the transgression and then file? Maybe demand some interest? I wanted this because the law stated that back pay is due at 9% APR above the base rate, 3.25 at the time, accrued daily for every day past the due date. We're looking at 12 to 12.5% compound daily APR. The risk is that the company folds in that time, but I decided to take that risk. I sent one final letter stating that I expect all the owed and accrued amount to date to be paid immediately. Of course, nothing happened. For the next few years, life rolled on. The company did grow and became a known player in the area. When the time came, I found an attorney and started the case. We had copies of all the communications, copies of the registered letters and responses. The back pay demanded now, including interest, was $112,000. What I didn't know was that in addition to this, there are fixed penalties for each instruction to perform uncompensated overtime. The total demand was something like $135,000. To say that the CEO, who was still the CEO, lost his mind would be an understatement. I got a very verbally abusive phone call, which I dutifully recorded as it wasn't completely unexpected, and was added to the file. The CEO fought or tried to, but when the judge heard that phone call, he took an immediate dim view. Reading through all the communications just put more nails in the fence's coffin. The judge just ruled and instructed the company to pay immediately and without delay, and also ordered the company to pay all my legal costs. They also got a full audit from the Department of Labor. The company paid up a week later. To add insult to injury, the evening of the court's decision, the CEO apparently got very drunk and crashed his car into another vehicle while drunk. He was convicted of a DUI and lost his driver's license for half a year. His insurance refused to pay out for the damages to his vehicle, a brand new Mercedes S-Class as well, as he was drunk. All in all, I'd say a glorious day. Wow, OP, I'm really glad you were able to get your money in the end, and I hope you didn't struggle for those 6 months, or 6 years and 11 months. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you know anyone that might be interested in this, please share this channel, as I am growing, and every little bit helps. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.